What is up, y'all? Hope you guys are doing well and appreciate you guys checking out this video. I just want to give some practical tips to you guys to get funded in 2025 if that's something that you are pursuing. Now, if you guys have followed me along on this channel, you guys know that I used to be funded 200,000 with Cortana FX, and then unfortunately, when all those prop firms were going down, that prop firm went down as well. So I lost 200K in funding, which was very unfortunate, obviously. So I took a break from funded accounts and just went purely off of personal accounts. I traded regulated, unregulated brokers, tried out some different things, but I was able to slowly grow a personal account, which is now up about 18% this year alone. So I thought, you know what, it's time to go after some funding once again. And so that is what I've been doing. And I actually did end up getting funded again, and I got funded with funding pips. Now I'm working on some other firms as well. I'm not going to announce anything yet on that, but working on some other challenges to increase the funded, to get back to kind of where I was at and then past that, hopefully. So that's the goal. But I want to give you some practical tips on how I was able to pass my challenges, and I want to go over sort of a safer, slower route to getting funded, and then a little bit less safe or a little bit more riskier strategy just for funded accounts, not the actual trading strategy, but the strategy itself to get funded in terms of risk, size, that sort of thing. I want to go over a little bit riskier of a route you could take to get funded, and it's going to take you a little, not as long as the first route, but the first route's safer. So if you are looking to get funded this year, definitely stick around, because I'm going to, you could probably go into a Word document and kind of go over these strategies and show you guys exactly what I did to get funded, and maybe some things I'm going to try on my upcoming challenges to speed up the process a little bit. But really, the biggest key is going to have a winning strategy and just to have patience. So many people I see taking challenges and trying to get funded, they want to get funded right away. They think they're going to pass their challenge in a day or a week or whatever, and if you force it, if you're forcing trades, it's just not going to work out. You're going to end up failing it. You're going to end up, if you miss your first few trades and you're automatically in drawdown, then your emotions, it's going to be harder to handle that. So I want to give you guys some practical tips, so stay tuned. Alright, so we are in the little document here that I've created, and like I said, we're going to go over like a slower route, safer route to getting funded, and then a faster, riskier route. Now, one thing I want to start off with, and this goes for either whatever route you want to take, is a smart thing to do when you're trying to get funded, especially if this is your first time trying to get funded, or maybe you failed accounts and that's why you're watching this video and you don't really know where to go from here, right? Is buy a really small challenge, and just focus on the risk management part of it, focus on trading it correctly, and see if you can get a really small account funded. Literally, the account that I'm funded with right now is 5K account. This was a free account that I got, so I didn't have much weight behind it, but you know what? I wanted to trade it as if it was a $1 million account, right? I wanted to take it seriously. I wanted to treat it like a business, which you should always take trading as and treat it as a business. But I wanted to prove to myself, you know, hey, if I can pass this small challenge, it doesn't really matter the size. If you can pass this challenge, they have the same risk parameters if you buy the same type of account. So if you pass a 5K challenge, you can pass a 300K challenge. You just have to be ready for it emotionally. But the risk and everything, the drawdown, you know, daily drawdown, max drawdown, those things are going to be the same. It's just going to be different numbers. So really, if anyone passes a 200K challenge, that's awesome. If they pass a 5K challenge, that's just as awesome, because they proved that they know how to trade. They proved that they can stick to a risk management plan. They can stick to their trading strategy and be able to pass the challenge, right? So it's just proving grounds in order to, you know, prove yourself that you can pass it. And also, if you spend too much money on a challenge, let's say you buy a 100K challenge, right? You spend $500-600 on an account, and you really didn't have that extra money to spend on the account, so you're treating it like, okay, I have to get this funded, I can't mess up. There's going to be too much weight on it emotionally, and it's just not going to work out for you. Trust me, you want to have a clear conscience, even if that means starting with a 10K account, 25K account, 50K account, whatever it may be. Stop thinking about how much money you're going to make at the end of it once you're funded. Think about just being able to go through the motions and pass, and then guess what? You can use those smaller payouts to end up getting you a bigger account in the future and start building from there and scaling properly, instead of just going for massive accounts, going for massive payouts, and then maybe you get one payout and then you lose the account. It's not worth it, trust me. And I've seen people go down that route time and time again. So the slower, safer route that I want to go over, and this is the one that I used to pass this funding challenge with funding pips. This was a 2-phase challenge. So what you want to do, and again, if your trading strategy, if you're trading 5-10 times a day, you're probably not going to pass a funding challenge. I'm not going to lie to you, because there's a lot of trailing drawdown with a lot of these prop firms, equity-based drawdown, so that you have to be careful. Read up on your rules, whatever platform or company you go with, so be careful. But I am a swing trader. If you guys want to check out the rest of my channel for my strategy on how I swing trade, you can check those out. But let's go ahead and get into this. Sorry, I'm kind of going on side tangents here, but there's always some points I want to get across. So the slower and safer route. When you're starting your challenge, right, your balance is at zero. Let's say you have a $100,000 account, right? We're just going to use that for easy numbers for this example today. $100,000 account. So a lot of times your drawdown is going to be 5%, 6%, or maybe your daily is even 3 or 4%. So you got to be careful on that. You can't be just going and risking 3%, right? But your first trade you're going to take, wait for a A+ setup. Don't just take one thinking, yeah, you know what, let's just see if it works out. No, you want to wait for the best trade possible to start your challenge off on a good note. You want to start off in profit. If you start immediately in drawdown, you're immediately going to have to start digging yourself out of that hole. It's not a fun time, trust me. So this is going to go for both of them, but wait for A+ setup to start your challenge, right? The next is going to be first trade, risk 1%. Now, you could even go safer than this and go and start risking with 0.5%. It's just gonna, the lower risk you go, it's gonna take you longer and longer, right? Look for 1 to 2 RR or 1 to 3 RR trades. Now, again, like I said, if you're a scalper or something and you're taking 1-to-1 setups, you're just going to have a really high win rate in order to pass the challenge fairly quickly. Now, for me, myself, I always like to go at least 1 to 2 risk reward, maybe even 1 to 3. 1 to 3, 1 to 4 is really what I aim for. 1 to 2 is that bare minimum risk reward you want to try and close your trades out in, because then you know for every trade that you lose, if you have one winning trade, boom, you're already up 1R from that. And the great thing about that is, let's say you risk 1% on your first trade and you lose it. You happen to lose your first trade, which again, we're trying to avoid at all costs. But let's say you do lose that first trade. You're going to be down 1%, right? 1%, you're chilling, you're fine, right? Let's say you win the next one, it's a 1 to 3. Now you're up 2%. Let's say then you take another trade, you're up 2%, right? You take another trade, you risk another 1%. Which is what I'm going to recommend, is 1% risk after, or I should say once you're in profit. So let's say you win that trade, right? Or excuse me, you know what? I'm not going to say you lose your first trade, because that's going to not make sense with this analogy that I'm trying to make. But let's say you take the first trade, and for this point I'm making here of risking 1% once you're in profit. You take a trade, it's a 1 to 2. Let's say you risk 1%. Now you're up 2%, right? Now you want to risk 1% again, and then let's say you hit a 1 to 3. Boom, now you're up 5%. You're halfway there, or if not more, to your challenge, to passing that phase 1. Now, if you lose your first trade, that would be down 1%, right? you're now down 1%, which is very unfortunate. Now risk 0.5%. So now you're going to risk 0.5%. So you're down 1%, you're going to risk 0.5. You hit a 1 to 2, you're back at break even. You hit a 1 to 3, you're back in profit by 0.5%. Now that you're in profit, you can start risking 1% now. And that is the slower, riskier, or slower and safer route to pass your phases on your challenges. And again, the risk reward is huge here, and that is what's going to really help you take that to the next level. Because let's say a lot of these challenges, they might have a 6% target, right? The funding pips challenge I took had a 6% target for phase 1 and for phase 2. So think about it. If I risk 1% and hit a 1 to 3, now I'm up 3%. I risk 1% again. I have 2 wins in a row. Boom, that's already passing phase 1. And so you can really pass it in 2 trades, which may be a week or 2 for me. But sometimes I even go a week without taking trades. I'm very particular on which ones I take, so it might take a little bit longer. But that's the slower route and a little bit safer. And in this way, it's going to be really hard to fail unless you just lose a chain of trades in a row. Because once you're in the negative, like I have here, you're going to start risking 0.5% instead of 1%. So you're going to start going slower and slower into drawdown if you continue losing. But you can slowly get yourself back out of it if you start winning. And again, that's where the higher risk reward trades really help you out. Now, again, I'm going to put for this one, wait for A+ setup. No matter what route you take, you want to always wait for A+ setup, ideally for every single trade you take. But if you take a little bit riskier setups according to your strategy for the challenge phases, that's okay. But I suggest for the first trade at least waiting for that A+ setup. So first trade, similar to the first one, right? You're going to risk 1%. And you're going to keep the same, look for your 1 to 2, 1 to 3 risk reward trades. I'm going to keep that the same, right? I could have just copied and pasted those first 3 bullet points because those are the same. But after you're in profit, risk 2%. So let's say you risk 1% on your first trade. You hit a 1 to 2. You're up 2%, right? On a $100,000 account, you're up that $2,000. Now that you're in profit, you can risk 2%. Then if you take that loss, guess what? You're just at break even. You're not even in the negative. You're at break even. Then the next trade, you risk 1% again because you're starting from break even. But let's say you hit that next trade, right? Your first trade, you're up 2%. Your next trade, you risk 2%. You hit a 1 to 3. Boom. You're up 8% then. And so if it's a $100,000 account, you're up that $8,000. Boom. That's your phase 1 or phase 2. This way you can really speed up the process. But again, this is a little bit riskier route because if you start losing trades, then it's going to take you longer to get out of it. And in this one, if you lose first trade, keep 1% risk. So you're going to keep 1% risk on this one, so you'll be able to get out of drawdown a little bit quicker. But again, if you go on a chain of losses, you could fail the challenge much quicker as well. So it's a little bit faster route, and if you have a chain of trades of 2 or 3 wins in a row, you're probably going to pass that challenge really, really quickly. Especially at least at phase 1, and then if you go on to phase 2, do the same thing. You can really pass in a week or 2, 3 weeks, and boom, you're funded, right? But if you go into drawdown, it's a little bit more risky because especially depending on what company you go with, what challenges, you might have 3 or 4% daily drawdown. So be careful taking too many trades in one day. That's why I always say take your time with these challenges. Be in one trade at a time. I think that has messed me up a lot in the past. I'll try and be in 2 or 3 different trades, and it's easy to forget about. Maybe you have a trailing drawdown rule or something like that, and you end up being in putting too much risk on without realizing it. Even though if you're only risking 0.5%, 1%, it can really add up, especially if you have multiple trades in drawdown at the same time. So that is going to be my 2 strategies that I'm going to give you to get funded in 2025. Now, again, I took this first route this first slower and safer route to get funded my first time this year for 2025 after losing my 200K in funding last year. So my next couple challenges, I'm probably going to take one and use this same risk and knowing that it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's a little bit safer route. And then I'm going to try one with this one. But I know that this can work because it's the same thing. It's just upping the risk a little bit. And I've done something similar to this in the past, to past challenges, where it's a little bit riskier play. But again, if you're waiting for the A+ setups only and you're going for high risk to rewards, you can really pass those challenges really fast. So that is the video for today. I hope that you guys got something valuable out of it. If you guys are funded, would love to know what companies you guys are running with. If you guys are, struggling right now, I'd love to know. Maybe you want to ask any questions in the comments below. Definitely let me know. But I hope you guys got something out of it. Sorry if I went on some tangents. Again, this was pretty much just right off the dome, thinking about my past experiences and how I got funded this year in 2025. I wish you guys the best of luck. Stay patient. Trade safe out there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Appreciate you guys, and again, if you guys did get anything valuable out of it, would really appreciate you guys subscribe and like this video to help me out in the algorithm. So appreciate you guys. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.